Well, we're seeing a dramatic about-face, apparently, from some top Democrats today, who not only voted for President Obama's health care overhaul, but were some of its most vocal supporters, like Bill Nelson, Ron Wyden, and Maria Cantwell. See, a Senate Finance Committee hearing got underway, and it got rather heated earlier this week when Chairman Max Baucus and other Democrats tore into the head of this government group that's overseeing the implementation of Obamacare. Now, these are Democrats questioning this administration official on Obamacare. Listen to this.
Mr. Chairman, we have this kind of implementation, then we're not going to fulfill the goal that we all set when we laboriously put together in your committee this health care bill.
The IRS determined that affordability is going to be based on the cost of a worker's individual coverage, not the cost of family coverage. So we're going to have millions of spouses and dependents in a kind of regulatory no man's land.
Are you artificially raising the cost to all taxpayers by trying to lure people onto the exchange as opposed to giving them this option that is mandated by federal law to be implemented in 2014?
No.
You're sure of that?
Yes.
So if this committee asks for the specific details, it could get details?
We'll be happy to work with you to get you details. Yes, Senator.
All right, now we don't expect you to understand the specifics of that because it's confusing, but the point is you can see they're not happy. Joining me now, Tara Dowdell. She's a Democratic political strategist and served as an aide to former New Jersey Governor James McGreevey. Mary Walters with us as well. She's a radio talk show host. And Dr. Mark Siegel is a member of our Fox News Medical A team. So now I've been studying this stuff, you know, as a news anchor, and that confused me. I mean, they were really deep in the weeds on a lot of issues, but what I did take away is it's Democrats, it's Democrat on Democrat blood. I mean, it's about folks saying, I don't like the way this is being implemented. You're endangering people. They're going to have rate hikes. Some people are going to be charged more unnecessarily because you're charging them in a different way. And there's a problem. It reminds me, I can't help but go there, of this famous Nancy Pelosi moment.
We have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it away from the fog of the controversy.
Mary?
It is kind of fun to watch them eat their young, though, isn't it?
I don't know. I don't think anybody's thinking this is fun. They're worried about what's going to happen.
No, but it's fun as an outsider watching all the things that Republicans said were going to happen start to unfold, and the look, to watch them learn and to watch the look of absolute shock on their faces. This is a group of people that voted for, as Nancy said, a bill that they didn't know what was in it. Nobody read it. They don't know how to pay for it. They don't know how it's going to be implemented, and they don't know how much it's going to cost. So the fact that they're surprised by all of this is surprising to me. How can you be surprised? We know there's going to be a shortage of doctors. They made an announcement on Friday that they're cutting funding to Medicare Advantage. There's a loophole or a glitch that nobody knew about that is keeping lower-class families from getting health care. Universal just announced that they're not going to be providing health care for part-time workers. Everyone saw this coming except the people who voted for it.
On top of all that, Tara, we had reports last week that at least half the states in the union have decided not to participate in these exchanges. Those are like the Expedia.com. That's how I've been referring to them. Online setups where you say sort of, okay, this is how old I am. This is my medical history. Which plan should I get? Which government subsidized plan should I get? And the states were supposed to do this individually, but half have decided not to, so now the feds need to do it, but they didn't budget for that adequately. So there's those problems. We're hearing about rate hikes going up, and then we heard last week that the bridge program that was supposed to insure people for their pre-existing conditions, they're out of money a year before they expected to be out of money. There's so many problems that we hear day to day with this. I mean, is this thing coming off the rails?
Megyn, well, first of all, I like Expedia.com. It's the only way I travel. So I think if our healthcare exchanges are going to be set up that way, that's a great thing. I love Expedia.
We should enlist them in helping.
Expedia is great. But what I would say is that I think that, yes, there's always going to be any problems with any implementation of any law. I've never seen a law passed, and I worked for Congressman Frank Pallone, who's one of the architects of this law. I worked for him, and I've never seen any law passed where everybody 100% agrees with it. But what I find ironic about their criticism is not about the law itself and its provisions. It's about the fact that certain parts of it are being delayed and they want it done now. Their criticism is to expand coverage so that certain middle-class families get more subsidies from the government. That is actually the nature of what they were criticizing the law. And if you look at the law, there are some positive things that have come out.
Oh, definitely there's some
2.5
positive
million
things.
young people now have insurance that didn't have insurance before. Gallup did a poll that said since that rule came into effect that allows people to stay on their parents' coverage at a certain age, that the number of uninsured young people is going down. That's a good thing for this country. We want our young people insured and covered
I
by
don't think there's
insurance.
ever been much of a question that the people who are not insured, who are going to get insurance thanks to Obamacare, are probably better off than they were before. But the question is whether the people who had insurance prior to Obamacare are going to be better off in the wake of it. Dr. Siegel, your thoughts on what we're witnessing now?
Well, but Megyn, and I also, with all due respect to Tara, don't think these are minor glitches, because a lot of us are concerned about what the premiums are going to look like, because at the exchanges, we're talking about the kind of insurance that's comprehensive, that covers a lot of services that insurance didn't necessarily cover before. And the reason there's this big glitch we're talking about is because the premiums are going to be so high that people that are forced off their employer policies are going to come to these exchanges and maybe not be able to afford the policies there and not have the federal backing they need.
Because they're going to be
subsidies.
subsidized by the
Not
federal
necessarily.
government,
There
but the
will be.
question is,
They may
will
not
they
qualify.
still be exorbitantly expensive,
They will.
prohibitively expensive?
They will be, and they may not qualify for a subsidy. And they may not qualify. These people may come to the exchanges and may not qualify. And if they do qualify, that's coming out of the taxpayer pocket. I also think it's really ironic. I want to point out how ironic it is that Max Baucus, of all people, remember the Baucus bill? I mean, the Senate version of Obamacare was essentially called the Baucus bill because he was patterning it after the Massachusetts bill. And now he's saying, wait a minute, the computers here are not matching the archaic computers of the IRS and Social Security. Well, how about figuring that out in advance?
Yeah.
That's not a minor problem. If you go to the virtual universe and you try to order a policy and it doesn't match with what the rest of the federal government is, that sounds like the Postal Service.
Because the Expedia.com version of the exchanges where you're like, okay, yeah, well, I'm this age, blah, 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 they're supposed to be linked up to Social Security and all these other government agencies so they can figure out how much to tax you and so on. And this guy who's the main backer of the bill is saying, they're archaic, how are you going to do it? And you know, it's a fair question. Why didn't we think about that back in 2010?
What Dr. Siegel just said, the CBO just released a report that the subsidies to the exchanges are going to be approximately 29% more than they had originally thought. That's as of right now. So imagine what they're going to be a year from now. And where's the money coming from?
There is a question about whether some of these Dems are trying to put distance between themselves and the law, because a lot of these guys are up for re-election in 2014. And, you know, now we're really going to start to, this is where the metal meets the road. Is that the expression?
Rubber.
The rubber meets the road. Okay, yeah. Pedal to the metal, rubber to the road. Where 2014 kicks in, and we're really going to have everything set up in the exchanges, and everybody's supposed to be, and these guys are facing re-election. And the question about whether they see a problem coming, and they want to say, wasn't me, I raised issues about this, I tried to get it fixed.
Well, I think I have a different take. Everyone makes fun of Nancy Pelosi for saying we want to see what's in the bill outside of all of the controversy.
We
around
have
it.
to pass the bill.
Everybody makes fun of
Before.
her for saying it. But the point is, what's wrong with an administration saying we're going to make sure that once we pass a law, that we go back and if things are wrong, correcting it. We should want our government to correct errors if there's any law
Is that
comes
what she
out.
was saying? You are very charitable.
I think it's 100% what she was saying. And I think there's nothing wrong with a government that's responsive. And if people say we have an issue with this part of the law, wow, oh my gosh, they're actually willing to reconsider it. And you guys are pouncing on that. Would you rather have them push a law through and not make changes to it if there were things that were wrong with it?
Before they push it through?
Well,
or how would they know what's in it before they push it through?
read the law. And
That would
all
be
the ones
more
I know
He's
on
the one.
table.
He's the one. Tara made him.
I take care of real patients. I think the real problem here is that health insurance itself is archaic. It doesn't think in the right concepts anymore. It thinks hospitalization, outpatient, now he's going to the office. What about in between? What about what real patients are experiencing? Insurance, and I'm going to report on this next week, insurance doesn't fit what actual patients are suffering. So premiums soar, and then my patients complain, I ain't getting the care I need anyway.
Well,
and we're expanding it to 30 million more people.
And that's why I think it's important to get certain information out there. This medical home thing that's in the healthcare law that redefines how we actually do healthcare, these are things that people need to know about, where you're seeing a nutritionist to help you with your eating habits. These are things in the law that are looking to redefine how we deliver care in this country, and I think we have to give that a shot, because as you said, insurance isn't working, so why are we trying to do the same thing the same way? Why
before
not
we
give
go,
the law a chance?
Can we hear the Nancy Pelosi soundbite again? Let's see if Tara is right. Let's listen to it again. Stand by.
We have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it away from the fog of the controversy.
We report, you decide.
Away from the fog, she said. She said away
Pass
from
the bill.
away from the fog of controversy was
Okay.
her last line.
Why would you pass it before you understood what was in it? In any event, great debate, as always. Thank you all so much.
you.
Thanks, Megan.
I'll come